Hey, what's up? This is John from Sevendust and Projected, and you're listening to Shutter 16 magazine.
How are you, John?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Back on a tour, which is great.
Absolutely. You're out on tour celebrating the 21st anniversary of Animosity. So I thought we could go back in time a little bit, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about the making of the album and kind of how it all came together back then.
Animosity was, it was that moment in time back for us where, you know, your first record, you never really have any kind of expectation whatsoever. So, you know, when we had fans react to it, it was, it was a pleasant surprise for sure. And then you go in and you do your sophomore record. You know, you got your whole life to write your first record, and then you got like 6 minutes to write your sophomore record, which is exactly what happened because we were on tour for so long. So, you know, home was sort of us just trying to, recover from 2 years of, supporting that first record. And honestly, with home, it was such a whirlwind. And it worked. You know, it was like somehow or another we pulled it off. We pulled off the smoke and mirrors, the Jedi mind trick, and somehow or another we didn't take a step back. But with Animosity, it was sort of a moment where we went, okay, now we can sort of figure out what we really want to do. You know, it's the first time where we were like, okay, when you get a positive reaction to 2 records in a row, the label's sort of going, all right, how are we going to approach this record? And, we got out our list of producers and all that stuff and went through. And Gross was the guy that we just kind of kept coming back to. It was like he was, just had some super, super great recommendations from a lot of people that, we were sort of working with at the time. Even Bill McGaffey, who wasn't our manager at the time, he was working radio for us, but he had recommended him as well. And it was, it was kind of cool for us to change up the environment. We went down to Florida, where the weather was a little bit better. Sonically, we knew that we wanted to, kind of make a mark. On the first record, it was like, I don't know what the production really sounded like. It sounded like whatever. And then on home, it was sort of during that point in time where all the bands were really into the whole lo-fi thing. And, the production was sort of leaning in that direction. And on Animosity, we were like, we just want to make the band sound as good as the band can sound, and we want that Ben Gross kind of a stamp to it, So going into it, we knew sonically that we were going to change things up a bit. We knew we wanted to add some, some weight. We wanted to pay attention, to the mix and stuff like that. But the interesting thing along the way was, and really started to kind of dig into the songs with us. And he's not so much of a songwriter, but he's a great song arranger. He would kind of make notes about the first record. He was like, "What's this part? And what's this part? And what's this part?" I'm like, I don't know. Around Animosity is when we started to kind of organize ourselves a little bit. We would actually, start to visit some song structure that sort of made sense. Listen to the Beatles and go, "Oh, that's how a song's supposed to go," as opposed to Sevendust world of what is this part? I don't know, the part that comes after that last part. I think we really started to kind of focus on the craft as far as how the presentation came out.
Yeah.
It was the first album that I can say honestly was really produced. Like we sat down and we carved these songs out of a bunch of nonsense. Some of these songs might have started with 7 or 8 minute, demos of whatever was happening, but it was sort of a conscious decision for us to kind of organize and try to, just try to ease up on the delivery a little bit, because sometimes having that many parts was just enough over everyone's head where they didn't know what the hell we were doing. And I mean, some of these songs I listen back to and I'm like, I don't know what we were doing on that first record either. It's like, there's no rules, so we're like, yeah, whatever. But on Animosity, we said, you know what? In theory, if we were going to, throw a song out to radio, we should probably organize ourselves and have the presentation be a little bit better. So we spent a ton of time on it, I mean, it was one of the records that, we were excited to be in the studio, and we were excited about the music. And we wrote and we wrote and we wrote and we wrote and we recorded and we wrote and wrote and wrote and recorded. We were in Atlanta. We were in Orlando. We tracked drums and bass up in Atlanta and went back down to Orlando, tracked guitars, vocals. I mean, we spent so much time on this record. Handed it in, and our label said, "We don't hear a single." So,
oh, no.
you know, we went from like, oh, yeah, we put all this work in. I mean, we spent the better part of, I'd say, at least a solid year between writing, organizing, tracking, getting all that stuff done. So, you know, we had so much time and so much, you know, music put into it, and then to get the label to just sit there and tell you straight up they don't hear a single. We were just sort of scratching our heads going, okay, we've never been more confused in our entire lives, you know. Of course, management's getting mixed messages because they're like, well, we got to keep the band happy, but we got to keep the label happy too, you know.
Right.
Like, can you guys go back in and, you know, finish up a couple of songs that you didn't finish? You know, Live Again was one of those songs which I was like, okay, I sort of get it. But it was like, you know, they wanted us to finish Live Again. They wanted to put Angel Sun on the record because Angel Sun was only on the straight up, you know, tribute record. So, you know, it was like, okay, I get it. It's the label being the label. And then it just got weird. You know, it was like, we felt so good about what we had done, but just not seeing eye to eye with your label at that point. It was like, all right, the writing's on the wall. So it was a bittersweet time for us because there was so much going on. We were spending a lot of money, you know. I mean, we were paying for videos and paying for studios and, you know, doing our homework and making sure everything was dialed in and done. But then to hand it in and have people go, nope, we don't hear it. Here's the kicker, though. 21 years later, our fans have spoken. You know, it's
exactly.
Like, it's honestly one of the fan favorite records. It's like, it's always going to be in the discussion as to somebody's top 2 or 3, period. Like, you know, as a Sevendust fan. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe the label didn't know what the hell they had. You know, because at the end of the day, the Sevendust fans definitely know. And it's such a killer experience to go through the record with them because we've never done it before. And, you know, for us, it's sort of, I don't want to say it's comfortable, but we're not guessing. Like, I'm not looking at the set list going, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, I've got the flow of the record. But you pull into a new town and you watch the people listen and see this happen, you know, for probably their first experience ever. And it's really, really cool to see how much this record means to folks, you know, because it meant so much to us back in the day.
Right.
And it's each record has a certain thing, but there was just a lot of time and a lot of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears put into that record.
Yeah, it's got to feel good now after all this time to, you know, kind of come full circle with it and have this anniversary celebration. Well, you know, was supposed to be, I guess, 20 years. And of course, everything got jacked up and now it's 21 years. But, you know, just to have everybody embrace it after all this time and have it be such a relevant part of the fans' musical experience just has to be overwhelming for you guys.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. You know, every night, you know, you find somebody who hasn't seen this, you know, in the audience, and you sit there and you watch it, and you kind of, it's cool to be able to get to experience their reaction, you know, just us sitting up there on stage, because, you know, we've been so attached to these songs, but some of these people have never seen, you know, there's a handful of these songs we've never played live. So it's not like they might have seen us play Praise once or twice or Angel Sun or something like that. Like, you know, the back 9 on there where we're doing Beautiful and Redefined and Damaged and Live Again and stuff like that, those are the songs that people are like most interested in just because we weren't doing them a bunch. So,
absolutely.
I mean, it's such a cool experience to get to see how much this one means. The first one meant a lot to people, Home meant a lot to people, but there's something very personal about this one for most of our fans.
And I'm glad everybody's getting a chance to hear it, you know, in its entirety, because that's something that bands don't really, you know, obviously do that much anymore. When you go out on tour, everybody wants to hear, you know, this song, that song, all the hits, what they consider to be. And
well, it makes the conversation pretty easy because people would complain about that. Be like, the one thing I wish Sevendust would do is kind of mix it up a little bit. You know, they kind of go after the same songs, and I'm like, that's because when you do a show, people want to hear stuff that they're sort of familiar with for the most part. it's like you can't ask a band who's been around for 20 plus years to not play some of the songs that put them on the map.
Exactly.
We're not going to pull a Tool and not play Sober. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's edgy, and they don't want to do that song, and I'm like, okay, well, that should probably be the one song that should probably always be in the show. But I'm not a Tool. You know what I mean? No, it's a great experience to have this out here. And it's cool because nothing gets skipped. When we started doing these full albums, I'm like, okay, here's your opportunity. You can't say that we haven't ever played this song. You can't say we haven't ever played these songs. So, this time next year when we're doing Seasons in its entirety, we'll have about half the catalog already kind of laid out. So I don't want to hear any excuses. We didn't hear Damage. We didn't hear Redefine. It's like, all right. You're getting them all. You're getting them all together.
Now, I know that the band will be here for 2 nights in Charlotte next weekend at Neighborhood Theater. So, what can Carolina fans kind of expect from the show? Is it been crazy out there since everybody's been cooped up so much?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the perfect storm of, okay, we're doing something we've never done. It's a cool experience, but yeah, I mean, just having no mandates, just having the no mask thing going on, and people not having to show vax cards, going in and out of venues and stuff like that. I mean, it sort of feels like 2019 all over again. It's sort of like it's the weirdest thing in the world. We just had like a 2-year pause, and now we're back at it. But the fans are definitely excited to get back into the into the venues and go see shows. So it's like, all right, well, the timing on this one works out good.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
For sure. And you've got some big festival dates, too, coming up, which was one of the very first times that I saw Sevendust was at a big festival. And you got Welcome to Rockville coming up, Blue Ridge Rock Fest, Louder Than Life. Yep. What do you like most about the festival experience with the band?
Getting to see all of our friends and, old crew guys that used to work with us and stuff like that. Not having to do, a full headline show. Usually, even if you're playing long on a festival, you're only usually playing around an hour.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just cool to mix it up. It's almost like, you go to summer camp for a day, you can kind of catch up with all your buddies and everything. I mean, we've been around so long that most of the people in the, that are working for all these bands have probably worked for us at one point or another. So it's very difficult to go into one of those shows and not have sort of a mini little family reunion going on.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing we probably look forward to the most is just catching the other shows, catching new stuff we haven't had a chance to check out yet.
Yeah. Are you guys working on any?
Enjoying the experience because we didn't get to see any concerts for 2 years either.
Right. So everybody was in. I always forget about that, but everybody else missed shows, but you guys missed shows too.
Oh yeah.
Playing them and going to see them
was so hard. I mean, it was like I enjoyed doing them, but the problem with them is like there's zero vibe. We feed off an audience, and when you put us in like the worst environment possible, with no PA, no vibe, it's just like, this just feels so wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting up on stage and doing that whole drill feels amazing again.
Cool. What about new music? Are you guys working on anything right now?
Yep. Yeah, we sure are. We'll probably be in the studio mid to late summer is what we're sort of looking at.
Okay.
So we're kind of compiling a bunch of demos. We've got, Dropbox folders full of all kinds of stuff. We've got LJ. Got him, he started singing on a handful of things, we'll be chugging along. We were actually just working on a new song idea right before sound check, before the VIP today. So yeah, I mean, we go in there and kind of pedal around, and we've got all our computers out here on tour, so it's easy to work on days off or, between sound check and showtime or wherever you want to do it. So
sure. But you've got a projected album coming out
yes, I do.
in not that long, sometime towards the end of June. So tell us a little bit about that and what that's been like for you.
Well, June 24th will be the release, and we went back in. And what's crazy is it'll be almost 2 years because we went right in after the pandemic happened. I'd sort of been picking around with the idea of, trying to find a hole in the schedule again, for Alter Bridge so that I could at least get drums done and kind of do the same drill that I've done before. You know, the standard operating procedure for Projected is usually track what you can, when you can, throw it on hard drives, and then, you know, put it all together. Sometimes a year later, sometimes a year and a half later. And that was basically what I was going to do. And I hit up Tim right when we went into lockdown. I was like, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but, you know, is there any way I might be able to get into the studio maybe, you know, at this point we're like, we don't know how long we're going to be shut down, but we know we're not going to go out on tour anytime in the next, you know, 4 to 5 months or whatever. So I was like, all right, let's go make a record. And I was like July or August of 2020, and our manager hit me back and he was like, well, the pandemic sort of wiped out everyone's schedule, so can you go in June? And I think we were already in May at this point. I was like, that's like 3 weeks away. It was like, yeah, you think you can have it ready? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I got to do a little bit of homework. I got to dig in. Because I wanted to have the whole record demoed, like to where you could hear everything. At least you could hear vocals and all the spot, you know, not keepers or anything, but you could hear the actual song from start to finish. So yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, you know, go from sort of a relaxed mode to, okay, we're going to be in the studio in 3 weeks. Let's start booking tickets. Let's get Elvis dialed in. And yeah, I mean, somehow or another, we were able to get everything done that we needed to get done. But the beauty was, when we got in the studio, you know, Elvis was like, look, man, I don't have anything on the back end, so we can take as long as we need to finish this.
Ooh, nice.
So it's sort of a cool experience, you know, getting in there. I mean, we worked really, really hard, but the thing was, is once we got down towards the end, it wasn't like it was a rush to have to finish anything. You know, there was no deadlines. Little did we know we were going to wait, you know, 10 months for vinyl. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we went in, we actually had a good time. The whole world was shut down. You know, I mean, it was a bummer that none of us could be on tour together, but that's sort of the beauty of what we do for a living. We're like, all right, well, there's a certain amount of what we actually have to do that doesn't require us being on the road at all.
Yeah.
So what a better time to have a pandemic is when you're locked in the studio making music. You know, so that's exactly what we did. You know, we just took our time, had a really, really good vibe about it. You know, super chill, no deadlines, nobody's going on tour. We don't know when anyone's going to work again. And that's what we did. You know, we did it all with Elvis. It's the first time that we've actually tracked all together, with the band being in the same state, same house. You know, it's usually like, you know, you'll get like maybe 3 guys in one place at one time, 2 guys in a place at a time. Having all 4 of us together was very unusual. But it was awesome. You know, went in, we knocked it out. And then, you know, you start playing the waiting game of, all right, where is it going to fit into the big picture schedule between Alter Bridge and Sevendust, and then the 6 degrees separation in every direction, you know, which does, you know, when you got Miles Kennedy kind of figured into the math, you got to put Guns N' Roses in the mix, and then you have to put Slash, and then you have to put Tremonti, and then, you know, I'm like, okay, hopefully Creed isn't going to rear its head anytime soon.
You never know. It was a pandemic,
you know
right?
What I mean?
You don't
so
know.
It's like, oh my God, I got all these things to look at. So we finally found a window, and then of course you put your order in, and then I think we waited 10 months for our vinyl. We were told it was going to be about 6 to 7, and then everyone was coming back online all at the same time. You know, the whole world was like, oh, we're getting ready to drop records. We're going to go out on tour, and then everyone got in a waiting list, you know, for all these vinyl orders that they just couldn't meet demand for. So we just waited. We just said, all right, when it happens, it'll happen. So it's almost 2 years. I look at it and I'm like, this record is old. 2 years old, you know.
Well, you'll just have to.
But for us, we're like, we're almost tired of it at this point. You know?
You'll have to start working on another one. That's all.
Hey, trust me, that's already way in the works. You know, the pandemic is crazy. You're like, you know, I don't know. This will probably end up on Projected 4, but no, we're finally dropping it June 24th. We've got the Hypoxia video is out right now, and we'll be dropping a couple other things along the way before release date comes. But yeah, man, it's been It's been a long time coming. Between the first record and the second record was 5 years, and I was doing everything in my power to have it not be that long this time. It's still going to be 5 years.
Well, you could at least say
when I released the last one, so I'm like, okay, it's 2022. It's 5 years later. But
you could at least say there's forces beyond your control this time.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, but nobody cares about that. They're all going to be like, nope. About every 5 years we get new music from you. So I'm like, all right, maybe that's our rhythm.
Well, you never know. If it works, it works. But we'll be looking forward to that coming out very shortly, and the Sevendust tour coming to Charlotte next week, and a lot of stuff going on. You're busy, so I'll let you go. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and fill us in on everything today.
Absolutely. Thank you.